My name is Beth Kennan, and I am a member of the Children's Hospital Committee here at UVA, and have been involved since I was 8 years old. So that's 28 years. If you want to do the math and get my age, I'm 36. So it's been a constant part of my life. That's my affiliation with it. I was treated here when I was 12 and again when I was 17. When I was 12, I got really sick one night. We thought it was food poisoning. We thought it was something simple and it'll go away the next day, and it didn't. So my parents, since I grew up here, said, we'll take you to the pediatrician. We went to the pediatrician and he came back and he said, I think you need to go to UVA and have surgery now. So I did. That day I was diagnosed and in an operating room and in recovery within a matter of hours. And that was my first experience as a patient here, and that was really something that has stuck with me more than any other experience because it was in the old hospital as opposed to what we call the new hospital that's 25 years old at least. And I shared a room with a young girl who was from Southwest Virginia, I believe, and she was several hours from home. So coming here, and her condition was far more severe. Her long-term diagnosis, her long-term treatment was going to be much more uphill. But she and her mother, and it was just the two of them, and every time I walk through the link by the old hospital, I think of them because they had nothing. They came here because UVA is the best, and they had been referred here because UVA could provide the best quality care. And that was almost 25 years ago, and that still holds true today. So that's my first experience as a patient here. My story was not very interesting. Once treated, it was no longer life-threatening. It was 6 to 8 weeks and everything was going to be fine. But what that experience did was introduce me to a young girl and her mother who had a much more uphill battle. Just not only because they weren't from Charlottesville, but the condition that required much more care than mine did. So that was the first visit. The second visit, I was 17. I guess I didn't get enough on the first time. And I had a severe car accident right out here on 250 coming out of Floriden. There used to not be a light there. And it was an uphill and someone turning left. And I was turning left and a truck drove into me at 65 miles an hour. And they had to use the jaws of life. And my car, which was a big sedan, thankfully, because I was a teenage driver and everyone should have a big car, was turned into a circle, like it was made into a circle. And so they used the jaws of life and they took me out of it. I don't really remember that part of it. And you know, I think of my parents. My dad, Jim Kennan, was with the health system during that time, and he was here for 25 years until his retirement. And he gets the call at his office in McKim Hall that your daughter's been in an accident, and he can hear the ambulance out his window that's bringing me here. And I don't know, I'm not a parent, but I can imagine parents have all dreaded getting that sort of call, which he got. And so UVA, there really wasn't any other option. It's the best. It's a level 1 trauma center. I was a trauma patient at that point. And the accident itself, I don't remember very much about it because it was such a severe concussion. What I do remember is waking up, coming in and out of consciousness for much of that day. And it was a beautiful day. And I woke up in the middle of the night. I would assume I was probably a PICU patient because of the severity. And I had glass and dried blood all in my hair. I was stabilized. And I decided that night to get up, and I don't know where I thought I was going to walk around because of my concussion, and you know, I had IVs and everything in my arms and stuff. And I got over to the edge of the bed, and this is what always stands out to me, and it's been so many years, but it always stands out, is I tried to stand up and I collapsed. My legs couldn't quite work just yet because of the trauma that I'd gone through, and so I collapsed on the floor and the nurse had to come in and pick me up. And you know, if UVA weren't a facility that can provide that kind of care, that condition might have gone very differently. So twice UVA's bailed me out, saved my life. I have 2 scars, one on my upper left arm that's a tiny, tiny piece of glass from that accident, and then I have a scar on my lower right side that's probably about that big, and I'm the only one that would know where those 2 are because they're they're very well done scars. So that's my experience as a patient, and you know, it made me incredibly loyal to this place. And you know, if you walk away from a car that looks like that and you have a piece of glass that's that big as your only reminder, that's pretty remarkable. And that's a lot of what my loyalty to it comes down to. And also seeing the many children that come through here on a regular basis, it's pretty amazing. You know, I think my parents probably could speak to it better. There are other hospitals in this area, in this region, but none can provide, in my opinion, and from what I've seen being on the committee, the level of care where that ambulance is going to come here because they know it's a trauma situation. You know, UVA can care for all of these very difficult conditions. And I think that's what makes people come here. In my opinion, and I'm partial, I'll admit it, because I've been a patient here and I've been affiliated with it my entire life, you know, UVA is the best. I don't know where else you go in this town to get good medical care. This is it. They've got it locked up. They've had it locked up since I was a child. They'll have it locked up for as long as it'll be around, forever, basically. With families, if you've had that kind of experience, and you know, this place has been such a part of my life, whether with my dad working here and him having me volunteer here. You know, I firmly believe in my heart, and I will get very emotional when someone starts to argue it with me, but UVA really is the best. Are they perfect every day? Do they get it right every single time? Probably not, but they're going to get it right more times than not. And they have one of the lowest mortality rates going for children. So I think those are valuable points that when someone maybe says, there are other places you could go, that's fine, that's great. If you have strep throat, I would recommend you go there. If you have a life-threatening, severe condition or a chronic condition, this is where you need to be. Well, I think it shows such a broad community. I mean, I've been stuffing envelopes and helping out since I was 8 years old. So to see the different groups that come in and want to help out, from little children that at the telethon used to want to put coins in a fish tank, to the contribution that the battles have made, it's truly a community investment. Everyone wins with this, and it's not just the Charlottesville, Albemarle community. It is, I think, from the mountains to the ocean and from DC to Danville. Everyone benefits by the opening of the Battle Building. It puts it on the map. It puts the Children's Hospital as a unique place at UVA on the map. Let's see here, it started, as I said, my dad, Jim Kennan, was with the university for 25 years until retirement, and he was and is very civic-minded and involved in a lot of organizations. And in his roles at UVA, the Children's Hospital was always something important to him, among many other organizations. But this one stuck with him and was close to his heart. My sister and I had both been patients here, and he and my mom just thought, you know, you might as well go along and help out. So he would say, and he still says this sort of thing today, can you come help out? Why don't you help out? Let's help out. Why don't you come with your dad and help out? To the point where it was somewhat annoying, but you know, that's his personality, and obviously 28 years later, that paid off. But it really started with, they had a phone-a-thon at Alumni Hall, and that was where they would stuff envelopes and they would call past contributors to give back, and that was kind of my first introduction. And then it would get into telethon, and then we'd get into turkey trot. So we had sort of a set series of events, and I'm sure I've missed some, but those are the ones that have always been, were always very much a part of the Children's Hospital. And that's how the community became engaged, and that's how so many groups within the community became a part of it. Recently, in the last couple of years, I've gotten involved in the main event, which I enjoy greatly. The turkey trot always holds a special place in my heart because it brings in some wonderful groups in the community that have been involved and supporters for many, many years. All of them are special and unique in their own way. The Seasons Treating Shop that we did this past December with the hospital education program, that was really unique, in seeing families' reactions, because you know, they're spending their holidays here at UVA. That's not a place people want to be. And in many cases, like I said, this hospital serves a broader community than just Charlottesville and Elmore. They may not be able to get home for the holidays or do shopping in their community. So that was really something I think we worked hard to make it successful, and we'll do that again this year. So that's, I think the Children's Miracle Network gives a broader base It's an identifiable and recognizable term. People know it, CMN, and that means something. So if people are not here in Charlottesville, the Children's Miracle Network brand is associated with UVA, and that's a big brand that was long affiliated with the telethon. It's been affiliated with many parts of the fundraising efforts that UVA participates in for Children's Hospital. I think you support it because it does amazing things. You support it because the child next door might end up as a patient here. I think it, you know, it touches every part of the community. It has a lasting impact. It's pioneering healthcare for children. You know, that pediatric heart transplants happen here. That's a pretty remarkable thing in a relatively rural area to have a hospital that can do that. I don't know where else that happens. I'd love to know where else in a relatively rural, small college town you could have a pediatric heart transplant take place. That's kind of why I think that people should support UVA Children's Hospital. And I think the opening of the Battle Building really does put it on the map as its own unique entity and what it's capable of. I think the presence of UVA in this community and its outreach to the community through different programs, the Doctor on Call program, the ability for doctors to go out to families and be there in a more house call sort of setting. I think that's a newer initiative. Is one of the ways in which UVA is reaching out to the community, plus, you know, working with different organizations in the community to promote healthy lifestyles for children, healthy eating habits. Those would be other ways that they reach out to the community. But I really feel like you have to have a firsthand experience to understand and totally appreciate what this place is capable of. And if that's helping through an event like the Walk for Kids, you can gain a greater perspective. You know, that Walk for Kids is one that Klockner has supported and done such a phenomenal job for just over 30 years now. That's one way where your kids can come out, they get exercise, they get a good start to a nice spring morning, and you're giving back to the hospital as well. So I think there are different ways that UVA has reached out to the community. And some of it is through raising money, and some of it, and that same raising money allows UVA to promote and make kids aware of healthy eating, healthy lifestyle, exercise, all of those key components. So even though I don't live in the Charlottesville area, I am living healthier ever after, and I am a patient at Zion's Crossroads. So UVA created a loyalty in me at a young age, the age of 8, that is still with me today. And I'm glad that my dad suggested I come help out because it has created a healthier ever after.